Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today I'm here to look at the next reveal that I decided to pretty much just take a look at. I mean, we're going to go back to the other colors very soon, but saw the blue cards, and I actually really wanted to dive into those, as well as get some more opinions from a friend and pretty prominent player in the community. So real quick, if you haven't thought about hitting that subscribe button, just think about it a little harder. Maybe that notifications button too, so you can start getting the content as soon as it comes out. And without further ado, I'm gonna just jump right into the screen cap and introduce special guest. Alrighty then, so now that we're here on the screen cap, ready to look at blue, the guest I have here is actually my friend Amani. You should know him by now. If you've gone to any events in the DMV area, you definitely should, and many events outside the DMV area, but he can introduce himself, so how about you do it?
Hi, my name's Amani. I am special guesting today. We're gonna go over some of the cards together. I don't know them that much better, but I want to say I know a card that I like when I hear it. So, and a lot of these blue cards are really standing out this time around. So this should be a fun little go over, if you will.
Sweet. No, that's actually pretty much it. Like, we've got an expert's eye on this, so it's not just my coming off the bench scrub vibes that are happening, but we're gonna get right into it because I want to try to keep this video nice, concise, tight. First card we got up here is the new baby leader. Auto, when you place this card in your leader area, activate up to one planet Tuffle from your deck. Auto, when this card attacks, draw a card, and then he awakens at 4 life or less. You draw 2 cards and you flip him over. On the back side, he's got the Overlord keyword. So once per turn, you can place one of your battle cards with the Servant skill at the bottom of your deck, draw a card. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1 card, and then activate main. Once per turn, look at up to the top 3 cards from the top of your deck. I don't know why I said top twice. Add up to 1 mono blue card with a counter skill among them to your hand. Then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then you can choose 1 card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck. So right off the rip, the front side automatically pulls a card from your deck. He draws a card when he attacks, not attacks a leader, and I always like that. Doesn't untap energy, but you just draw 2 cards, and that's more options than a card that already says you're looking for counters. So, I mean, it kind of feels really controlling. On the back end, you're searching for counter cards, and already that just kind of seems very defensive. But without looking at any other cards in the set, what do you think about this?
Well, I have to make myself put this in a vacuum because I do know of some of the other cards in the set, and it does change the opinion quite a bit on this card because from first glance, the card looks okay. Probably just okay. There's a lot of new on this card. There's a lot of pieces of this card that you have to know the other cards to really understand. In a vacuum, it's okay. I mean, it's just okay. But when you piece together all of the other cards with it, the baby theme, the planet Tuffle, for example, you realize that this is a very powerful counter-based theme. And I think that in this game, counter is one of the more powerful mechanics because really interactivity in this game is super big, and counter is one of the safest forms of interactivity. You generally aren't taking damage. It's not a make or break situation. It's not a lot of ways to interact with counter cards. So having a deck full of them, full of counters, most of which are battle cards that are going to summon themselves, all of them are going to have reduced costs. A lot of them are going to have multiple effects at a time. This is it's a very powerful theme. It has a lot of potential to create body. It has a lot of potential to go both ways, really, because counters can be used on either player's turn to your benefit. So this can be a very powerful deck on either side of the coin, but it's going to be extremely potent on the defense.
Yup. Like, keep this card in mind as we go over the rest of the theme, because this is kind of, maybe in the future, I'm going to start going over battle cards and extra cards and then rolling back to the leaders, because a lot of these leaders don't necessarily make sense without seeing the archetype around it. And once you see this archetype, it's going to definitely bring this leader into a different space. So moving on to the next leader. Excellent art, by the way. Vegeta. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1 card. Auto, once per turn, when you deal damage to your opponent by attacking with this card, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a mono blue card, you may place it in your energy in rest mode. Otherwise, place it on the top of your deck. When your life is at 4 or less, draw 1 card and flip this card over. Backside, auto, once per turn when this card attacks, draw a card. Auto, once per turn when your opponent activates a counter skill, switch this card to active mode. Auto, once per turn when you deal damage to your opponent by attacking with this card, look at the top card of your deck, mono blue card, you can place in your energy and rest mode. So same as the front side. There's going to be a lot of applications to this because lots of people are hyping the crap out of this leader card already because of its inherent ramp with no real deck building around it. Like you just play mono blue cards and you're rewarded for pushing an attack through. And that can make a very aggressive strategy that also involves ramp. Only really conflicts with a couple cards like Champa that are be mainstays in like decks that would normally be monocolored. So I kind of like it. It's just, I don't know, it's straightforward ramp. It doesn't seem as like versatile as the last one, but what do you think about this literal ramp stick engine on a leader?
This card, in my opinion, this card is insane. I think that this is an extremely powerful leader card. And for one thing, firstly, everyone is aware. We all know the power of ramp in this game. We all know that in a game where resources are key, gaining extra resources is a big deal. Let's just briefly looking back at the previous ramp cards, pretty much all of them were resource for resource. You sacrifice one resource to generate the other. So sometimes it's cards out of your hand to make more energy. Sometimes it's this one here, though. This is pretty much free resources, and free resources has been proven time and time again to really border a line between very, very, very powerful and dangerously unhealthy for game stage. Now, in this particular case, because of some of the cards that Blue has access to right now in this format, it's very, very hard to deal with this card early in the game where it matters the most. Obviously, because you don't want to generally have to prevent damage that early in the game. It's just too soon. And especially if your opponent is going second and he's using this leader, he's starting with 7, charging to 6, he's swinging back to 7, you're down to 5, you could be down to 4 if you didn't break even on your summon. So you're looking at a very serious card disparity just to start the turn. Most of the time, you are banking on these leader attacks to deal damage, and that's not safe here, because this can get out of control very fast. Just 2 ramps on this card and a common application of like your Zeno Unison, for example, could put you 4 energy ahead of your opponent just that fast. And that can become very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just looking at this card, like that's what I was like saying when I was like, it just rewards you for building a color. You're not negging from hand to do this. You're not wasting anything. You're just looking at the top card of your deck, and if you have built your deck with a functioning brainstem, you're just getting additional energy. And then, like Amani was saying, I just wanted to add on, the early parts of the game, you're just swinging tit for tat. You're swinging specifically to draw a card, and normally you don't really stop that. You want to maybe take a life, you want to get a little closer awakening, see your next card, but now you're going to be sitting at a spot where you may be forced to ditch a card when you only have 6 or so, just to stop your opponent from getting ahead for free. And that just feels already preemptively oppressive for the first couple turns of the game, unless I'm just seeing something completely wrong with that.
I think you're pretty spot on with that. And that's what scares me.
So, moving on to the next card, we got Baby, the Unknown Parasite. He's a Unison. He's got 3 specified blue, X, +2, activate main, draw a card, and then -5, activate main. If your leader card is mono blue, choose up to one of your leader cards. It gains plus 15,000 for the turn, and double strike. Until the start of your next turn, you can activate mono blue cards with counter from your hand by choosing 2 other cards in your hand and discarding them instead of paying your energy costs. So, right off the bat, it's interesting. I mean, his +2 just gets you cards. He's gonna come out at 3, so he will instantly go, well, at minimum, so he'll instantly go from 3 to 5 on the first turn. And then your opponent has to start swinging at this man because he's a lightning rod from what I'm seeing. Because once that effect goes off, you really can turn dead cards into free counters if you so choose. But at the same time, I could just be super rusty. I feel like this card has a bomb -5, but I feel like early enough in the game, you could just be using your energy. And I don't know. I'm not sure if this is more of a late game card when people can play multiple plays a turn and you can just windmill this dude on the board and then try to have more resources or more counter plays than just what your energy would suggest. But what's your take on it?
This is actually one of the cards that I have found to be, in testing, a lot more powerful than it may read. And it already reads pretty powerful. But there are obvious things here that people can find to be a bit of a turnoff. But I read this card to be a lot more powerful than it leads on. And for a couple of reasons. Most specifically, as you stated, it comes out minimum 3 markers with its +2 ability, making it a 5 marker blue. And that's powerful. We've already seen in our previous unisons, Zeno, SS Gotenks Fusion of Friendship. We've already seen how a +2 marker makes a card inherently more powerful than a +1 marker. It's already fairly difficult to deal with. Now we're going to put that on the concept of a 3-drop, and this is going to become a very difficult card to remove once it sticks to board. If it only ever drew 1 card a turn, it's already doing more than what most people are able to do. It's going to give you a serious card advantage. But let's just zoom in on this -5 for a second, because this can get really out of control if you're looking at it, if you're reading it the way that it's been written. So obviously, if your leader is mono blue, you can use the -5 to give it 15k in double strike. That's probably going to make your leader a 30k double strike. Putting this next to, thinking immediately because it's a baby, and putting it next to the baby leader, it seems, okay, that's pretty cool. You can play all of your mono blue counter cards by discarding 2 cards or whatever. But I would say put this next to the SS4 Vegeta leader for a second, and this can get really, really powerful. Because if you hit that Vegeta ramp ability, for example, even just maybe one simple time, put yourself ahead of the curve, and you get this baby out, say, on the 3rd turn of the game, you can cast it at an easy 4 markers. Then if you pump it up and your opponent's unable to do the -5 to it, say you do your -5 and you go to play like the new SS4 Vegeta, for example, and then your opponent goes to his usual answer, which is normally going to be a counterplay. This card allows you to counter with the big monkey, which we'll talk about later, and just discard 2 cards, and that card comes to board, stopping the counterplay, making the Vegeta result. It's a very strong combo that I kind of put together here, but just the ability to generate enough cards where that discard 2 doesn't even feel like a real cost, this card can get powerful. It's definitely supposed to be designed later, but one thing you have to keep in mind when you're looking at blue cards is these cards are intentionally designed to be expensive because blue has a plethora of energy access. It's very easy to play this card sooner than it was designed.
Yep. And the more I look at this card off of the first rip, the more I realize that whether you play it on 3 energy and +2 it and then have a way to untap energy, or you literally are in a rough place in the game, but you know you're about to stabilize or something, maybe, or you're just late game, you know your opponent is about to push 4 game the next turn, slamming this dude down on board for 5 and then just getting him off the board, or just like, I'm sorry if you can't go down straight from 5 to 0, but like just playing this guy and activating him in the same turn, which you may be able to do quite easily in these blue decks that are clearly going to be ramping. Normally in a game like this, Magic, anything with an energy resource system, counting your opponent's energy, mana, whatever, and then knowing how many options they can have on your turn, this card literally just throws that concept out the window. If your opponent has a grip of 20-something cards for no reason because you haven't been able to push the options out of their hand, and they just slam this dude on the table and even have 3 open energy or access to more, and you already know there's Dimension Magic, you already know there's things like Sensu Beans, a card like this just completely makes your next turn a nightmare. You can't count resources for your plays. You can't do anything. You have to just hope that something goes through, and that already puts you at a really bad leverage point for calculating when game is happening and when it's not happening. It could just lead to you almost passing turn because you don't want to just sink everything into a turn where they have semi-infinite resources to stop your turn. But yeah, we've talked a lot about some of those cards, so let me roll over to the next one. Super Saiyan 4 Sun Goku, Protector of Earth. Specified 5 cost X. Auto. When this card is played, during your opponent's turn, they can't attack with battle cards unless they choose one of their battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or more and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. It's got a -1 activate main, draw 2 cards, then choose 1 card in your hand and place it at the bottom of your deck. And then a -2 activate main, which says choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and return them to their owner's hands. I mean, I'm still kind of new to Unisons, but this guy doesn't even really have an ultimate, so to speak. He doesn't have a plus, but since he's going to come out at a minimum of 5, he has, 3 activations? 3 to 2 activations at minimum. But, I mean, it's I don't know. His cost, it clearly just is more of this ramp, but I don't know how to fairly evaluate this card without better knowledge of the format right now. So I'll pass it over to Amani.
My opinion on this card, I think that, once again, going back to that concept we talked about in Mono Blue, where blue cards are designed intentionally to be more expensive than they look on paper because of the ease of blue being able to play cards sooner than its normal curve. This card falls in that category, but I think that this card kind of sinks into that category, if you will. It falls kind of deep into that category. Whereas normally 5 energy, you would not expect it to warrant only a 15k. And as a unison with 5 markers in play, that seems great. And then its ability prevents you from being able to be attacked by battle cards without your opponent paying a pretty hefty cost. But at the same time, this unison has no real sustainability outside of those little 5 markers. It's a 15k, so it's not the most offensive card. 5 energy is kind of steep, and its only minuses on it. So its ability is really good in a pinch for the times where you need to get out of the pinch. But outside of that, maybe if the auto were one of its abilities or something, I could see more use out of it. It's definitely still playable, but it's very niche. It's very niche. And looking at the other blue unisons, this one is probably the worst of the ones I've seen so far.
There you have it. Goku gets the shaft. Doesn't happen often. Enjoy it while you can. Like, I'm going to scroll down to the next one. Son Gohan, Baby's Minion. So here's where we're going to start into the archetype that Amani and I were talking about, where you have a leader that focuses around counters and having options and even searches counters off the top of your deck, and then you're about to see a slew of counters. Counterattack. Negate the attack and play this card. And he's a 3-drop. He's got 2 specified blue. Servant. This card gets plus 1000 power, can't be switched to active mode during your charge phase. Auto. When this card is played, your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they choose 1 card in their hand and place it at the bottom of their deck. I need to look at the exact wording of Topo, but if this is every time you attack, then its application is pretty clear. But I'm going to give this card a 0 out of 10, actually a -5 out of 10, because they put Servant on my man Gohan. And Gohan ain't nobody's bitch. I'm just kind of just saying that right now. I'm just putting that out there. So I don't really dig this. Won't play it regardless, even if I end up playing Baby. Amani, your take?
Just like you said, most people are still kind of wondering about the wording on it, if it's an every time or if it's just a one time. I think it's an every time because it seems like it imposes a cost on your opponent to attack for the remainder of the turn, indicated by your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they choose. But Bandai's wording is weird, and they're really not good at this whole wording thing. So we're just going to go with, until we figure it out, we're just going to assume that it's a one-time thing, because that's the safer of the two. If it's an every-time thing, the card can only get better. As far as this card, this is where the wall begins. This is where the oppressive baby theme starts to really take root, because this is one of these there's a list of these counters, and each counter has a different timing that stops something. This is one of your counter attacks. And also, let's point out that this card is a servant. So even though all of that you just said about servant's actually a pretty powerful mechanic in this game, seeing as how it's a permanent plus 10,000 power. And also regenerates card advantage lost from putting the card in play. So that's really nice.
Yep. Just to reference this real quick, I just looked up Topo, and Topo literally says for the duration of the opponent's turn, and it also says each time. And that is kind of scary because if it's each time, this card is busted. If it is just one time, your opponent gives you that Waka Flocka, look left, look right, okay, and they drop a single card and then start wailing on you again. But Servant is a powerful mechanic. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it belongs on my dude. So I'm just gonna go to the next one. Sun Goten, Baby's Minion. Counterplay. Play this card. Then if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 4 or less, just place at the bottom of its owner's deck instead of being played. This guy has Servant too. Totally fitting. There's not really much else to say about this. You're just gonna, like Amani said, start to see the toolbox build up around Baby. And your thoughts on this card?
This is probably one of the ones that I don't like to see as often because this one here has a very, very strong oppressive window. Obviously, 3 energy seems kind of hefty. But when you consider Planet Tuffle, which reduces all of your counters by 1, your mono blue counters, this card being a 2 energy countering up to 4 and preventing it from even coming into play, thus triggering its auto, thus having barrier being negated. I'm really not a fan of those type of effects. Of course, that's the interactivity we need, but those stop everything effects really are more powerful than they seem. Those 2 energy stop everything effects, but up until now, we have not had a 2 energy stop everything effect with a body attached to it, and definitely not a 20k body that also replaces itself in card advantage when you use the actual overlord mechanic with the Servant after it punches you for 20k, after it makes you tap your energy to effectively do nothing.
Yup, it's only gonna get nastier from here. Like, I'm serious. So, next one, Bulma, Baby's Minion. Counterplay. If your leader card is a blue baby card, play this card. Then, if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 1, it's returned to its owner's hand instead of being played, and it has Servant. This window is so narrow. Like, I mean, it's a 1-drop. So, I mean, yeah, it's only gonna cost 1 because of the field card that we're gonna talk about later. But I don't really think I have anything to say. It counters 1-drops specifically.
Well, don't forget that this is a 1-drop 15k Servant, while also countering 1-drops and also preventing them from entering play. Most 1-drops in this game are high utility 1-drops. So having 1-drops be countered from play is a big thing. For all you doing in exchange is creating a 15k body that once again recycles itself. This is getting old really fast. But
I mean, correct.
Yeah, it's not. At least what I will say is most of these cards are, I think actually all of these cards are leader locked. So if you see Baby, just get ready to not be able to play. But if you don't see Baby, at least you don't have to worry about these cards.
He said, if you see Baby. Like, there's... Okay. Well, all I'm saying is, I feel like this card... Again, I'm very open to being wrong. I just feel like this card drastically feels different whether you lose the die roll or win the die roll. Like, this card is like God mode, opening up with an untapped energy, but also slightly more sad if you go second and see it. But I don't know how often 1-drops are just being played randomly, so that's 100% on me. Moving on to Bola, Baby's Minion. Just counterattack, negate the attack, and play this card. She's got Servant, so she's going to be a 15k just for negating an attack. So, I mean, a negate attached onto a body. Anything else on that?
It's a Roshi on steroids that fits a theme. What else can you ask for?
People used to think Roshi was steroids. And now look.
Steroids on steroids that fits the theme.
All right. And what would any archetype be without some bum-ass vanilla that don't really do much? That's Oob. He's a 3-drop. He's a 3-drop 30k. So 3-drop 30k blue vanilla. I'm gonna roll over that. I'm gonna just roll over that. But then Huh?
It was actually not designed for the Baby theme. That's another one of those skillless cards they drop every set just to give skillless more options for their 30ks.
Just in case you wanted a dude in a fusion Majin Buu vest with some baggy pants. It's all good. We got a 1-drop. Ooh, Power of Hope. He's a blocker, and if you have a blue unison card in play, when this card is played, draw 1 card. That's a cycle. All the colors are getting that. I don't really think there's much to talk about with that card.
It's what it is.
Yep, we got a 1-drop Mr. Boo, 10-drop Vanilla. We're gonna just skim right over him as well. And now we're back to some juiciness. Baby Golden Avenger. He is a 5-drop, all specified blue. So no splashes up in this MF. But he's got unique, so you can only have one of them on the field at a time for good reason. Triple strike. 30k body. And then here we start hearing the dumb stuff. Counterplay. Play this card. Then if the battle card being played has an injury cost of 7 or less, it is returned to its owner's hand instead of being played. Or you can counter, and you can negate the counter skill and play this card. Auto, when this card is played, draw 1 card, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. Wow. Like, wow. They just made sure this guy is never dead. He's never dead in your hand. He can push for game. He comes out and affects the play and then affects the board. Like, I don't have really words for this. I just feel like if you can't evaluate how powerful this card is in a deck that can easily get up to 5 energy quickly, you just need help. Like, what are your thoughts, Amani? Just what are your thoughts?
This is that card that every deck needs, every deck's waiting for. Blue's been waiting for this since the ban of Gogeta 7. This is that card that you're looking to have in your hand when you turn that last card sideways for the complete and total ultimate game. So this card is an extremely powerful card in the realm of its own context. And this is one of those cards that I was talking about when I mentioned that Baby Unison, that you can play that Baby Unison out of your hand for 5 energy and then swing with it, then activate its -5 and give its ability to give your leader a 30k double strike, which is pretty dangerous if you put it on, say, I don't know, SS4 Vegeta, for example. And then when you swing and your opponent has to go no counter, because this is the card. This is why they have to say no counter. Because if you discard 2 to summon this card, negate their counter skill, now when he comes into play, he replaces 1 card that you discarded by drawing. He replaces another card by bouncing a card, ignoring barrier to the bottom of the deck. And then he puts himself on the board. So it seems like a virtual break, even though it's a hard neg 2 from the hand. Then with your leader drawing a card from the swing and going through for its 30k double strike, followed by this card's 30k triple strike, it's going to be a long turn. And remember that the baby's effect is still live for the whole turn, so nothing stops this from going through with more counter behind it. Not itself, of course, but this tops off that baby theme and really makes it strong, because this card's huge.
Like, just imagine a world where you have no other choice but to negate a double strike because you fear the combo power behind it, and your opponent negates your double strike and puts a triple strike on board. Like, I just or negates your negate and puts a triple strike on board. Like, it hurts. Like, it hurts.
Huge.
Like,
huge.
Even if you out combo the strike they were gonna swing with for game, you know that this giant golden monkey is just chilling there, looking at your remaining 2 life. Like, bro, just do it. Like, just do it. So yeah, this crap feels oppressive. I don't like that at all. We're going to move over to Baby the Sandslayer. He's got double strike. And again, if you thought the other stuff was kind of versatile, it starts getting really ridiculous here. Like double strike, counter attack, negate the attack and play this card, or counter play this card. Activate main once per turn. If your leader card is a blue baby card, you may look at the bottom card of your deck. If it is a mono blue battle card with a counter skill and an energy cost less than or equal to your current energy, other than a copy of this card, you may play it. Otherwise, return it to the bottom of your deck. And it's not like this game you haven't been using Overlord to put your counter plays to the bottom of your deck in any which way or form. It's not like they're going to come out and swing for an extra leader body, awakened leader body, you know, just like, if you can't see it getting put together, I don't know what to say. Like, Amani?
If the theme wasn't unhealthy before, it's starting to put itself together rather nicely, shaping up as a format where, by this point now, you should have seen enough cards to go ahead and weed out those obvious "can I do this" answers. This is that card that tells you No, you can't just charge and pass your turn every turn. Baby has no problem getting aggro. Yeah, everything you play into will be cheaper when I counterplay it. But if you don't counterplay it, hard cast it, it's still going to be a problem one way or the other. So this right here kind of solidifies it's so many things built into this card. Not only does it stop you from attacking, but it also proves to be a very powerful attacker. It can be played in the middle of you stopping another attack or stopping another play as a counter. And when you play it, it has a once per turn activate main that replaces the servants that you've been putting to the bottom of the deck that are all counters, by the way. So I don't even know if there's a chance of missing this effect between Planet Tuffle and all of your servant cards having counter. So it's literally just free plays every turn, regenerating servant and overlord and just creating card advantage all over the place.
It's like, have you ever wished that they would redo the big Getty Star as a better card that created an army? Not me, but they just did, and it's not in your archetype. Like, this dude is a single hand engine, and the worst part is he's not unique. so if 2 of these land, your opponent potentially is just adding 2 more swings to your face per turn. Like, all right. Like, actual all right. We're gonna move over to Baby Artificial Life Form. 4-drop, 3 specified blue, counter. If your leader card is a mono blue, switch up to 1 of your mono blue energy into active mode, then play this card. If your leader card is a blue baby card, when this card is played, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. So, I mean, counters are at a premium because, I mean, we all know what happened when we had, like, the world's most premier counter. I mean, like, Battering Laser had to go. And this deck is just getting them in spades. And not only are they getting them in spades, like, I mean, yeah, it's a 4 cost. Yeah, it's going to go down to a 3 cost because of the field card. But at the same time, this guy's going to cost 3 in a deck that ramps its cheeks off and then untap 1 of its energy as, like, a partial refund. So it is what it is. Your thoughts, dude?
This card is really just a nice sized body. When you read it as what it is, a 2-drop 20k in the baby theme, because you're going to summon it for 3 as a counter. It's going to untap 1 before it summons itself, then it's going to come into play. That's 2 energy for a 20k body that then is going to remove a battle card off the field. These cards are like value city when it comes down to it. They're huge. They're all on color. They're all on theme. They're all counters. And every time you put 1 down, you're getting way more than you spent on it. This is a lot of power in virtual 2 energy cost.
Yep, I'm just going to say, like, I mean, I guess they saved the best for last, but just the connectivity of all these blue cards, it feels like it's on another level compared to 80% of the rest of the set. Like, it's not close. We got Baby Diabolic Parasite. 3-drop, 2 specified blue, counterplay. Play this card, switch up to 1 of your mono blue energy to active mode. And if the battle card being played has an energy cost of 4 or less, it is placed at the bottom of its owner's deck instead of being played. He has Overlord. So he is also another engine. So, you know, if your leader card, if you happen to be playing the baby leader and your leader card is not enough to keep cycling these guys, especially if you are making an army of servants, congratulations, you have another just outlet for it. Like, this deck is actually replacing cards off the field into its hand. It's countering things. This guy is a 1900 that will come out for 2 and then refund you 1. Hey, Amani, you're up. Like,
this card gives me a migraine to read, because this card, when I said it was safe because most of these cards are leader locked, this is one of those ones that isn't leader locked. But in the baby theme, when it becomes a 2-drop that summons itself, untaps 1, prevents something from coming into play again, and then sticks its 19k 1 energy overlord body to field, this is really kind of oppressive. It's very, very strong. This card gives me a migraine. So now you're getting a double dose of overlord, because it's not like those servants actually do anything after they punch you for really big. You're stopping another card from being played. You can stop multiple cards from being played. This is like a mill 5 with Vegex, and all of them can just go back to the bottom of the deck instead. Just go back down there. And I'm going to put this in play, and I'm only going to spend 1 energy. Now what? This card is really strong.
Yeah. It really is. Imagine a world where you just try to play a card and your opponent punishes you and their board gets bigger. Like, it's just so rude. Baby the Body Snatcher. I love that name. I'm just gonna say it, but it's just kind of wild. Counter attack, negate the attack, then switch up to one of your mono blue energy to active mode and play this card. And he's got Overlord just in case you wanted another outlet. Now, granted, he's only 10k, but this is a one drop body. Your opponent just tries to attack you. You're like, no, excuse me, and then you put a really cheap Overlord just trigger on the board, and that's neat because I believe the leader only has Overlord when he flips over. I gotta look back at that, but
Yes.
yeah. So this provides a very, very early game outlet for your servant cards, and it's just too well rounded. Like, I'm not seeing the neg in this deck yet. Your thoughts, dude?
When it gets to this point here, this is where it starts to get. There are so many cards of this type that at this point now, do you play anything other than counters in your generic good blue cards? Like, I'm seeing counter, Obuni, Senzu being counter, black cards. Probably, maybe. I don't even know. But it's like this card here as an Overlord, early game Overlord, one quick energy, Roshi on steroids again. This is where you start to really consider your Overlord versus your Servant ratios, because you have a Servant version of this card, which actually just costs one, but this one is almost completely free. You tap one, you play it, you untap one. There's no beating that. Free negate, Whis' Coercion with Overlord on it, and it's not unique. So you can stack these and really get your Overlord in overdrive quick.
Nasty. Like, scrolling down, Baby, successor of the Tuffle King, one drop. Counterattack, negate the attack, play this card. Auto, when this card is played, you may look at the bottom card of your deck. If it's a mono blue card with a counter skill, you may add it to your hand. If you added a card to your hand, choose one card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck. Otherwise, return the card you looked at to the bottom of your deck. Okay. We're starting to get to the auxiliary cards. Like, there's so many good cards already in this archetype. It's kind of confusing. Not even confusing, but you start having to maybe get to space issues, even with a 60 card deck, and you may not even want to go that high because there's so many good issues you want to be able to see consistently. But as like whipped cream on top of this banana split, the cherry on top too, they even gave a card that allows you to fix your hand in the bottom of your deck at the same time. Did you like that counter you just overlorded back to the bottom of your deck? Cool. Did you have a servant in your hand that you actually just want to put back on the field with one of your weird from the bottom of your deck triggers? Excellent. Play this card, or just negate an attack and play this card and fix up your crap. Like, they're just building so many options into this deck. It's not even funny. You?
This one, I think, is probably the most fair out of all of them. If I squeezed my deck together, like you said, and I'm running out of options, this would probably be the first one that would go. Strictly because this one is fair in a world where there is no fair. This is fair. It's not able to reduce specified cost. It's going to cost you one. And it's not going to give you that one back, which already makes it worse than the 2-drop, baby. When it comes out, it's 4K. It's not worth summoning because it's small. It's not a servant. It's not an overlord. What it does instead is a break even. You choose a card in your hand and replace it with essentially a card that is a counter skill. And I guess that's kind of cool, but I'm not convinced that this is going to be the one I play out of all the other ones that I have access to, because I got a lot of them that are far, far, far more powerful. This is kind of just a fair one.
No, 100%. Like, this is an auxiliary card for sure. I'm just kind of like, yo, could you, like, why are we even printing more cards that just, like, just in case this wasn't dumb enough already, let me give you the ability to choose. But yeah, no, you're right. Like, it's a fair card in a broken deck. You're on to the next one. Dr. Mew, creator of the Machine Mutants. This is just a 1-drop. If your leader card is a blue baby card, when this card is played, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add up to 1 mono blue card with counter skill amongst them to your hand, and then place the remaining card at the bottom of your deck. So it's your awakened leader skill on a 1-drop. And that, I don't know, that doesn't really feel, everything is so organic in this deck, it just flows and you're getting so much stuff for free, that playing cards that are hard casted, not getting refunded, and then having effects that are already kind of on other cards just kind of feels a little lackluster. But it's just we're starting to get to some of the fodder cards here. Any thoughts from you?
Same. Agree with that. Just like with the last one, the baby, this Dr. Mew here, it's not awful. It's a great way to spend one loose hanging energy. But in a deck with counters of this magnitude at this power level, it ain't a whole lot of loose energy you're waiting to spend on summoning cards that are small that break even from a limited card pool of potentially cards that you may have already had or cards that you may already have access to getting. There's so many different counters. There's no particular order in which you have to see these counters in this early of the game. So it's not really a dramatic need to do some searching. If you have space, by all means, but I don't think you're going to have space. And having one card in here that's not counter, that's not Senzu Bean, that's not Obuni, I don't know. I wouldn't play it. I'd have to have a really dramatic need for it, and so far I haven't seen it yet. It's just impossible for me to fathom not drawing counter cards on my own.
I legitimately would have to lose like 8 bubble matches and these non-existent in-person tournaments where I just needed a single counter card but didn't have it in hand to even think about playing this card. And that would be out of sheer saltiness, not because it's like actually structurally correct. It'd just be like superstitious saltiness. Moving on to the next card. SS4 Son Goku Energy Annihilator. 7 drop, 6 specified blue, unique blocker. When this card is played, your opponent places one of their energy at the bottom of its owner's deck. And at the end of your turn, switch this card to active mode. Then your opponent chooses one of their battle cards and one of their energy and places them at the bottom of their owner's decks. He's also a 30k blocker, so that's nothing to really scoff at. I mean, it's kind of weird because there's a lot of cards that we just saw going absolutely in beforehand. And this card, I'm not even going to say it's a late game bomb because I have no doubts that Vegeta can get up this high pretty fast. Its effect is pretty oppressive, but a 7-drop without deflect and barrier is a lot of energy to put into something that can get smoked by pretty much anything else in the game. But its effect is ballin'. If it can't be dealt with, it's going to ruin your opponent's game. But I just feel like there's a lot of ways for it to be dealt with. Your thoughts, Dean?
This card, I think, is a really well-designed bait card. Just simply putting it, I think that it's an amazing card on paper, textbook. But when it comes to actual application, you have to think about the number of hoops you're going to have to jump through for this card to have a meaningful impact in a format like this, where, as we already stated, there are several cards that can answer this that don't cost anything. Not really. As a 7-drop, it obviously dodges everything in the baby theme except the big monkey himself. But let's talk about cards like God Sealing Technique Trunks, which on reveal just makes you waste 7 energy. Stuff like that, you can see generally coming a mile away. You can see if you're playing against a blue deck, there is no window where this card is going to do anything. If you're playing against a green deck, there is a small window. You play against a yellow deck, this might be that card. But 7 energy, no deflect, no barrier. If I have excess energy, this is not where I'm going to put 7 of them most of the time. It's a very niche card. It has a very, very small window where it could actually be very strong. It's cancerous if you get it out on your turn. And in 4 turns, your opponent's only at 3 energy and has no counter. Sure, cancer. But this is a game of consistency, and that's not a consistent enough strategy for me. I'd rather just play normal blue bombs, which we already don't have many of, but this isn't taking the cake. And he's a single striker. Come on, guys. I can't kill things with this.
I mean, honestly, real talk, my main thing about this card is, yes, if he's not answered, he will ruin your opponent's life. But if your opponent can't answer this card long enough for it to kill them through them having no resources, their hand was probably Swiss cheese in the first place, and you could have just used better cards to beat them down in a lesser amount of time. So that's just my thought on this card. Looks cool, though. Next one, SS3 Son Goku, Overflowing Spirit. Counterattack. If your leader card is mono blue, negate the attack, then choose up to one of your blue unison cards in play. Or in unison area or in the drop area, return it to its owner's hand, then play this card. So he's a 15k body. He costs 2 to counter attack, and he either brings a unison from your drop area to hand, or for whatever reason or another, he bounces one from your field. I would have to study a bit more, but I'm not really feeling this card. And it possibly is because like all the previous cards just kind of warped me on how much this guy costs to play. But I don't know. I don't really feel like I dig this card.
I don't like this card in design. I can't think of too many situations, if any at all, where I want to put my unison card from my unison area back to my hand. As far as from my drop area back to my hand, I can find use for that, but I'm not spending 2 energy on a counter attack that's going to put a unison back to my hand and then play itself in a format where we just talked about how this whole concept of counter is so warped now that cards got to come harder than this. You got to do better than this. Most of the time, if I see counter attack, blah, 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 negate the attack, that's what I'm really zoomed in on. And it's already a 2 energy negate that doesn't prevent my opponent from moving forward any further. So that's not enough for me. It doesn't give me any energy back. It doesn't stop him from attacking me again. It doesn't Mafuba his card. Like, there is a list of cards I can spend 2 energy on if all I want to do is negate an attack. I don't want my unison back that badly, especially not from my unison area.
Yeah, dog. I saw you building up counters, but how would you like to bounce that back for a 15k body? Real quick, though. I'm just saying. Actually, no. Okay, it would definitely, if they negated it with Baby, you would definitely not be bouncing your unison back before you got negated. That would be the ultimate troll. To sleeve this guy up just to wreck your field state and get countered. Next card, Son Goku Shadow Dragon Suppressor. He's a super combo. He's generic. We're moving. Now, next card. SS4 Vegeta Rise the Super Warrior. All right, though. 6 energy, 6 specified cost, blocker on a 30k body. Auto, if your leader card is mono blue, when this card is played, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Add up to 4 mono blue cards amongst them to your hand. Place any number of the remaining mono blue cards in your energy, and then place any other remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. At the end of your turn, switch this card to active mode. Okay, so, again, this card is a little more fair than I think some people can give it credit for. Not because of its effect. Its effect is absolutely nutsack. Like, if it happens, why? Why? I don't understand that. But it doesn't have deflect. And it doesn't have, I mean, barrier is the least of its problems because you really just kind of want to stop its come into play effect. But it doesn't have deflect, so there are numerous cards that can hurt this dude. But I don't know why they decided this effect was cool just because it didn't have deflect. Like, you pocket 4 cards, or you just charge 4 cards, or you see a really nice card in those 4 cards and go, I'll go up 3 energy, and then just take 1 to hand. And yeah, I don't know why this card actually exists. And it can swing for 30k just to apply pressure or attack battle cards, but then untap itself to still be a 30k blocker. What do you think about this card, dude?
This card, mwah, mwah, mwah. Give me more. This card is beautiful. This card's beautiful in design. Beautiful. Definitely unfair by all stretch of the imagination. Upon resolution, I don't think I even want to continue watching my opponent do this. Like, this card is ridiculous if it resolves. Now, the good part about it is there is an if. But it's not as big of an if as people might originally think. This is one of those cards you got to pull up off the paper, sleeve it up, summon it, and see just how simple of a card it is to resolve. Because it's not as hard as it may seem. Obviously, Blue's going to give you some trouble with probably any bomb without deflect. Duh. But against like Yellow, for example, guaranteed resolution. They have, what, Cold Blood. Does anybody even remember Cold Bloodlust as a card? Yeah, like Cold Bloodlust, Deadly Poison. They got a lot of cards that, in theory, could work here, but probably aren't going to see play. I'm almost certain if all you can do is SS4 Vegeta, my SS4 Vegeta, that's fine. You're not going to win the game like that, though. And he's going to untap himself. Guaranteed resolution. Against red, probably guaranteed resolution. Against green, probably guaranteed. I mean, that's against black, probably guaranteed resolution. I mean, it's just the only deck that this will probably run into where it's not almost guaranteed to resolve is its own color. I guess that's fine with me. And when
Eh,
it does resolve, 4 freaking cards anywhere you need them. +3 to hand, +4 to energy. Oh, more,
I
more.
mean, so he likes cancer, but my main thing with this card too is that like people look at the cost and they look at it doesn't have deflect, but I don't think enough people realize that in a perfect storm this could be a turn 3 card. Like am I wrong here? Like 3 successful leader swings and a sensu bean.
It has the exact color combination it needs. It doesn't even need 3 leader swings to go through, truthfully, because you could just play Zeno. And obviously, if you play Zeno, you can't use his effect to put 4 cards of energy. But I could also just go +3 to my hand. Where in the world is that not a good thing, right? And so if you do it in the realistic spectrum of things, if you're going first, you can get ahead of your opponent easily 2 or 3 energy. You can be playing this with twice as much energy as they have. And if you are getting free Vegeta swings through, you're going to have a very, very, very hard time catching up to a resolution of this card in any stage of the game. This is one of those things that when you're rolling the snowball, you just pick it up, you toss it around. It's this can be a game-breaking resolution, and it has a great comeback potential if you pull it, rip it off the top of your deck, and just have 6 open energy. Great comeback potential.
And then even past that, like you have to remember this game is a game of consistency and we play our best cards at max. So, I mean, not only can this guy be dropped on turn 3, he can be your turn 4 play while your opponent is still reeling from your turn 3 play. Like, this card is ignorant. It is
Yeah.
hella ignorant.
Only thing about it, though, guys, don't forget, this card is hyper overdosed to look like a 6-drop that really has a resolution that probably lines up more with a 4-drop. The card effect is ridiculous at any stage in the game, but it doesn't deal with anything on the board. It doesn't deal with your opponent's card advantage. If they're way ahead of you, it doesn't set them back any. So don't look for this card to automatically win you games. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if this card is played early enough, this card will put you in a realm where there is no losing the game.
He simply gives you options, but also can give you the energy to play those options. But the true beauty of it is the versatility of that. If you have options in hand, he just gives you gas. If you have gas but no options, he can give you straight options. He is a Swiss Army knife in this control/tempo blue deck that's coming up. So next one, Vegeta Ready to Rumble. Blocker, counterattack, negate the attack and play this card. He's a 4-drop, by the way, 2 specified blue. Auto, when this card is played, your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they place one of their energy into the owner's drop area. So, again, this is potentially better because 1 card from hand is a lot different than just 1 energy from the owner. So even like I can't when I read this effect, I kind of do feel like it's just you discard 1 card from hand and then you're good for attacking for the rest of the turn, because there's no way they're just gonna print just this card and just have your opponent go, well, I don't know. It just seems like this seems too powerful. Even though it's a 4-drop, to me it feels too powerful for this to be a once every time you swing. What do you think?
Given the relative space that it's going to be summoned in, you got to give it the topo treatment. Obviously, whenever somebody plays topo, you're pretty much whatever attack you just negated, whatever autos you get off of that, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was your leader, because that's probably it for the turn. But outside of that, this card's a blocker. It's not even worth going forward afterwards because it's going to be in front of your very next attack. You're pretty much just going to sack an energy for no reason. And then you're going to sack another energy if you want to get past that, running into a blue deck that has already proven to have more counters than you probably have cards in your deck. You're not going to go any further past this card more often than not. However, this is still a pretty expensive counterattack. It doesn't give you anything back. So if you are tapping 3 for it, though you're not losing cards in hand, you may find yourself unable to defend, and your opponent might see that. So sacrificing an energy per attack, if the last attack that goes through ends the game, might not be the cost that you were looking for. That's why I think that even though this card is pretty snapped, I would still prefer an effect like Topo, where discarding 2 cards could potentially puts you in a space where if you go 2 more swings, you probably don't have the combo power to put me in a lethal zone. But if you're just going to stack energy that you probably already used or might have overcharged, I don't feel as safe if I let an attack go through. I still feel like I'm going to have a pretty hard combo phase if this is the game-winning move. So it's very powerful on text, but again, application will show that the card is probably more fair than people are giving it credit for. It's mostly the fact that its energy cost is reduced and that's a blocker body, pretty much guaranteeing that you're going to need at least 2 attacks to progress. That's probably what's causing it to be a problem. But it's just like Topo. Nobody punches through Topo in the early mid game, and nobody cares about Topo in the late game if all I need is 1 more attack. So don't blow it too far out of proportion. We've seen this before.
Bet. Moving on to the next card. You got Vegeta, Discipline Warrior. It's just a super combo. He's the rotation super combos there. You can put a card at the bottom of your deck and then draw 2 cards. So it is what it is. Moving on, Bulma, Wife of the Prince. Auto. When this card is played, activate up to 1 super Blutz Wave generator from your deck. And yeah, that's pretty much it. She's a 1-drop. You'll see what that does later. You got a 3-drop. 2 specified blue, Gotenks, Return of the Reaper of Justice. He's a unique card, and activate battle if your leader is a mono blue Saiyan, and you have a blue unison in play this card from your hand in rest mode. He's a 19k body. I'm not sure how much this will come into play, but he's a 19k body that you could literally cheat into play on the last maybe swing of your opponent's turn to have a little bit more pressure. I still remember back when I wasn't a rusty piece of crap, one of the reasons why those tap 1, throw the body into play cards were so efficient is because you could cheat them in and then add more pressure with extra energy you had lying over for the turn. So if this is anything like that, I mean, it could see its way into a deck that may not just have a bunch of in-between swingers just to plop them on the field and then untap and then have a 19k to start poking at your opponent. Yeah, what do you think about it?
Free cards are good cards in a game that requires resources to progress game state. Free cards are good cards. Free cards are good cards. Free cards are good cards. It's not a 4 of in every deck everywhere where a mono blue Saiyan is your leader card. No, but free cards are good cards. There is no reason why if you're playing a mono blue Saiyan and you're playing a blue unison and you got a couple open slots in your deck, you can't find space for this. The beauty in this card being an activate battle means in most cases your opponent won't see it coming till it's happened, unless they're Jedi mind tricking themselves into assuming every time they see a Saiyan in a unison, they're going to assume that this card can be played. I don't have the brain power for that. Games go too long already. So this will probably catch your opponent off surprise, put an extra body on board, create some extra pressure on a leader, unison, or another battle card, and that's good enough for me. You got a combo to 20 to block it. That's 2 cards off a basic leader. Unisons of all sizes will take damage. I'm okay with it. It's pretty straightforward. It's mono blue. I have no problem flipping it into energy. I have no problem charging it if I don't need it. I like it. Just it's not a 4 of, obviously, because it doesn't do anything else, but I like it.
Bet. Next card. Going down to Super Blutz Wave Generator. Anybody that knows me or has talked to me about Dragon Ball GT and all my hatred for it in person knows how dumb I think this plot mechanic is, but we're just going to get into it as a card. Field. Auto. When you activate this card, draw a card, so at least it replaces itself. Most garbage don't even do that. Activate main once per turn. If your leader card is a blue Vegeta GT, only on its front side, place the top card of your deck under your leader card. And if there are 4 or more cards under it, place all of those cards in their owner's drop areas. Add up to 2 cards from your life to your hand, then place up to 2 cards from your life into your drop area. I just feel like there are better ways to awaken. Better ways that aren't necessarily 0 combo power, that aren't dead if you've already awakened, that I don't know. I could talk this card into the ground, and I might actually sound stupid for it. So I'm just gonna make sure. I'm gonna check with the expert and make sure I'm just not wilding over how bad I think this card is.
Okay, first of all, what? Why is there so much text on this card to just say you can only use it with a Vegeta if your Vegeta is unawakened? What's the point of all this? A GT Vegeta. I'm sorry. Only one leader in the game on its front side can use it because it's got to be blue, it's got to be Vegeta, and it's got to be... Wow, why do we have all this text on here? As if that's going to make it playable, because it's pretty unplayable to begin with. First of all, let's be real here. If I see this card hit board, I'm not waiting for you to put 4 cards under it before I decide, all right, well, he's just going to take 2 life and then crit 0. Who does that? If I put you to 6, you take 2, you crit 0. If I put you to 5, you take 1, you crit 0. If I put you to 8, you take 2 and crit 2. You're going to go to 4 one way or the other. However, that is not going to make this card valuable. I wish that it did more. I really wish that it did more and did more with less words. Because all these words, for it to do like essentially nothing, is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. This is that Bandai card design going south at its finest.
I mean, all the other cards did so much, they had to make one card that just took one massive L for the entire color. And it might just be this card. And then they gave us a card to search it out. Like, we'd actually just be like, oh, I need Blitz Wave Generator. Off the rip.
Yes. Let's waste 5 to 8 deck slots to put this card and its searcher in there. Because if you don't see this on turn 1, it will definitely not resolve then. It's a once per turn. It's actually a once per turn. How do you resolve this card?
It's dedicated energy, bro. It's a prime slot.
What a waste of a card.
Moving on to an actual field card. Planet Tuffle. Field. Permanent. If your leader card is a blue baby card and all of your energy is mono blue, when activating a counter skill of a mono blue card with an energy cost of 5 or less from your hand, reduce the energy cost of that card by 1. Activate main once per turn, add 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose 1 card in your hand and place it at the bottom of your deck. Now, this, I didn't even know how they could put those 2 cards next to each other and just go, yep, this is the move, and then put up the website. Like, this card does so much. I mean, it's self-awakening, and while you self-awaken, you get to stack the bottom of your deck for your bottom of deck abilities. Already just really good utility. And then one of the things I like about this is that I think somebody outside of Bandai created the card, because they thoroughly made sure that you cannot abuse this card outside of its own archetype. Like, you have to have a blue baby, you have to have all mono blue energy, and it can only reduce the cost of a mono blue card. So if they just decide to never make blue baby counter cards again, which Bandai has tended to do. I mean, it's not like we have Ginyu Force in like 4 colors. Like, they do this from time to time. This card won't just sneak its way into somebody else's deck and wreak havoc. What do you think?
This is well-designed field card. And by well-designed, I don't mean that the card is fair or unfair. That's not even what's relevant here. The card is well-designed. Just like you said, the card has a space where it doesn't actually do more than it's supposed to, but it's very good at doing what it needs to. So, obviously, Baby puts it in play for free, very first turn of the game, just like Scheme. No worries, don't have to draw it, don't have to play more than 1, can't prize it. Perfect. Perfect. Guaranteed to see it, and you need it. Then it's self-awakening in a deck that predominantly has no self-awakening. Don't need to waste space for that. Your opponent should be attacking you, because I don't know how they're going to close the game if you get enough energy to play every counter card in your deck in 1 turn. I don't know how they're going to kill you. So opponent should be attacking, so it's good relative self-awakening. It puts cards to the bottom of the deck to trigger your abilities, because you want those, and then reduces counters in the baby deck specifically. I mean, there are a couple that it can reduce that aren't baby deck, but specifically baby deck. That's really good. It doesn't reduce specified energy cost. Dimension Magic still costs 1. Baby still costs 1. Nothing's free, even though they untap. Okay, that's fine. Nothing's free. That's cool. Balanced. Right where the deck needs it to be. It won't function without it. It functions very well with it. Just that simple.
Nasty card. Again, I don't know how they printed both these field cards in the same set and just went cool. So, moving on to the next one, Golden Revenge. R. Kelly Rise Up. No, the counterattack. If your leader card is Blue Baby, negate the attack, then choose up to 1 of your mono blue battle cards with counter skill and return it to its owner's hand. So, I'm not sure. I mean, of course, it's a mono blue counter card. If I'm not mistaken, that will actually get reduced. So that's kind of cool. So it's going to cost 1. I'm not sure if it takes a slot over the counter cards that we already know and love, because this deck already has a fair amount of recursion. But if you already have servants on field, you can bounce them back to your hand to use them with Golden Revenge. I'm just not sure, without playing it myself, whether or not I would allot spaces to this guy over, things like dimensional magic or anything. What about you?
There's a very simple way to explain how I feel about this card. Very, very simple. This ain't dimension magic, so this ain't it. Just to put it simply, this ain't dimension magic. When I look at this type of card, obviously this effect can be useful somewhere. But for me personally, I am opposed more so to removing my bodies off of the board than I am to generating their effect a second time. Especially cards like Servants that are actually better being removed off of board for Overlord skills. Nobody wants to attack a Servant because they're generally huge, and nobody really wants to worry about removing important battle cards when you're going to remove your battle cards for them. Like, the threat that comes from battle cards being where they need to be. Can't battle if they're not in battle, and this card takes them out of battle. That's my feeling on that.
There we go then. Next card, Final Shine Attack. If your leader card is mono blue, negate the attack. Then you may choose one mono blue card in your hand and discard it. If you do, 2 cards. Even though it's Vegeta's move, I guess it's specified cost. Ooh. Did this even get reduced by Planet Tuffle? Because it's just 2 blue specified.
Nope.
I mean, it's a powerful effect, but it's for 2. Like, it's 2. I don't know. Feels a little chunky to me. What do you think?
This is it's an interesting card of design. I think that they were probably just trying to do a little bit more with it, and that's cool. Wanted to write a few more words on it, make it not a generic blue negate like usual. But it's a break even. It's a draw 2. It's kind of cool. It costs 2, like you said. I mean, that's not usually what I'm looking for in my 2 energy negates. It's at least better than the other one. But I don't know if I'd play it or not. Like I got Saiyan Instincts. I feel like if I'm gonna spend 2 to draw 2, I have cards that do it already.
You're definitely not wrong. It's like I like Sleepy Boy Technique, but Sleepy Boy Technique definitely only really costs 1 when you use it correctly. So it'd be what it is.
Yeah.
And that would actually be the end of the blue cards. I know this video went on a little longer, but that's because we actually had some more input, some better input. And if you guys like this sort of content, let me know, because I got a couple more people that I think I can draw on, or I could come right back to Amani. You just got to let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to provide it. Do you have any closing? Huh?
He can't just come right back to Amani, okay? Amani has to have 4-star dinner and a night in the hotel with a woman of his choosing to get on these type of streams. He already knows what he owes.
Why you got to put out my simping like that? Like, these are under the table deals. I mean, we'll strike that from the records real quick. But no, seriously, guys, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys liked his insight, the kind of dichotomy between a dude trying to understand the game again versus a person who's in the streets, not the streets, but like he's ground level with the game. You see him clapping up tournaments, you see him playing. So I just wanted to be able to go through an archetype with an experienced player, a really good player. And honestly, Blue seems like it is releasing some of the thickest cards, not just with energy level, but just what they do and the cohesiveness. I have some feelings about green. That was supposed to be my next video, but I read blue and was like, what's being smoked here? So we had to start here. I just feel like blue is coming hard in a major way this set. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Personally, I like a lot of the blue cards that they've made. I think that first of all, I want to. Well, that's harder to say than I thought. I want to give Bandai some credit. Whoa. For doing right, exactly. That's how I'm feeling. For actually making fairly good thematic card design for a change. It looks interesting to play. It looks like a lot of fun. It's obviously it looks overpowered in the vacuum, of course, but I think that long term it'll be pretty fun and probably not healthy, but that's not really the baby deck more so than it is the counter mechanic more and the effects on these cards. But I think that this gives Blue a way to move in a different path than usual and give it still very, very, very good competitive viability. And as a standalone color, which it hasn't really gotten to do before this unison block. Mono Blue really was in a weird space a lot of the times. Like it was either leaning all of its power into one play, or it was always somebody else's side chick. So it has its own theme. It feels playable. It's viable. So this is great. It's good to see for a change.
Yep, the blue has been struggling to be its own color for quite some time, like Amani said, and it's nice to see that blue is about to be possibly the de facto control deck. And this is coming after seeing Invoker do its thing for quite some time. So I'm very excited about this. And then more so than just this set, cards like this always set the precedent for the next power creep. If this is going to be the direction they take in terms of cohesiveness, we might be seeing some more and more fun decks from the development team as this game continues to go, and that's what you need for a game to still survive. Only thing I don't like is that so far blue makes every other color in this set seem like fodder, almost. Like, I'm going to go through the set a little bit more, both on video. I want to do some maybe early deck breakdowns or early deck theories, but so far, if I go to a pre-release, I feel like if I'm not pulling blue bombs, I'm not maybe making my money, and that hurts. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, hope you guys like it. Think about hitting that subscribe button, the notification button, and I'll see you next time. I'm thinking about cutting this thing into 2 parts or just leaving it up as one ginormous video. But hey, it is what it is. You guys have a great day. Hope to see you guys next time you decide to join Universe X, and keep playing. Like, I don't know what else to say, really. I'm worn out. That was a lot of info.
We out.